So how do people actually get out of denial? Well, it's pressure. Alcoholics, addicts, electricity, and water all take the least path of resistance. Nobody wakes up one day with, the birds singing, their lover next to them, money in their pocket, and says, what a great day to go into treatment. It never happens that way. It's when the pain is greater than the pleasure. That's why people go and get help. Now, that pressure can come many ways. It could be physical pain. It can be pain or pressure from their partner, them nagging them telling them to get help. It can be the police. As one of my friends said, I never got into recovery until I got a nudge from the judge. So there's lots of ways, but for people to get help, there has to be some sort of pressure. The pain has to be greater than the pleasure. So why do I say that? You keep in mind that nobody recovers unless there's some pain. Pain motivates them. It tells them that something is wrong. What can happen for us, especially, good people, is we don't like to see people in pain. We're uncomfortable. And so what happens is we can rescue them. We can go in there. They haven't paid their rent, for example, because what? They've drank it or they use it for drugs. I've had where people come, can you pay my rent? And you wonder, what's going on when somebody has some income and they don't pay for their housing? So we have a tendency, good people, to go in and rescue. Or, here's a classic one, the husband has been drinking since Friday, he got paid, and it's now Monday, and he's hungover, and he's not ready to go to work. In fact, he's not even able to make a phone call to call in and call off of work. So what happens is the wife calls in and says, Joe's sick, he won't be in today. Now, because this has happened multiple times, the boss never acts. On the other hand, if she says, I'm not going to call in, it's going to be up to Joe to explain to the boss. See, we can go in and rescue people, and what that does is it prevents them from getting help. Now, we don't want people to be injured, and let me give an example. As an Episcopal priest, I'm also married. People have to learn from their mistakes. So let me give you this little example. My daughter was maybe 2 or 3, and she kept going around this hot stove. And we kept saying, Grace, don't touch the hot stove. Grace, don't touch the hot stove. But eventually, one day when the stove was warm but not hot, she went over to touch the hot stove, and I didn't say anything. And she put her hand on the hot stove, and she learned. And I want to let you know, my daughter does not put her hand on hot stove. That's how people learn. If we perpetually go in there and stop them from doing it, they don't learn. Now, here's where the balance is. My daughter, a little while later, I saw her with a fork, and she's over there playing by the electrical outlet. So I don't say, well, this is a great opportunity for her to learn about electricity because it could kill her. So what I did is I told her, Grace, don't play with the fork around the electricity. You're going to get shocked. And as a little girl, she said to me, well, how will this, what's electricity like? It's invisible. I mean, how would this hurt me? And so I took a little 9-volt battery and I passed it to her and I said, put your tongue on top of the 9-volt. And she got a little shock. My daughter doesn't play with electricity. This is the same thing that I'm trying to tell you about dealing with addiction. We have to let people feel the pain. Now, obviously, if it's going to destroy their life, if they're going to go to prison, if they're going to get into a car and they're so drunk that they could take some, we intervene. That's when we intervene. But we can't go and perpetually rescue them, because what happens is they'll never learn from their mistakes. They'll never pay the consequences of their actions. Remember, nobody goes into treatment from the disease of addiction unless there is more pain than there is pleasure. And so we have to be very careful, especially us who love people, we want to take care of people. But sometimes, kindness like that can be counterproductive. So please remember, we have to think things through. We have to let people feel the pain. Pain can be our friend. The consequence of people's actions are what move them into recovery.